Let's look at this question of what a product line is. You can see a reasonable definition there. A product line is a set of software-intensive systems sharing a common managed set of features that satisfy the specific needs of a particular market segment or mission, and that are developed from a common set of core assets in a prescribed way. In other words, product lines reuse intellectual assets in multiple projects or products. Now, I had to think a bit about phrasing that, because it's easy to say, well, they reuse components, but it's not only the components they reuse. It could be the ideas or the tests or the pattern of movement of the information around the system. But certainly there is a great deal of reuse in a product line. The product line themselves, for example, there's families of products. They share most of their essential functions, so they are essentially the same. For example, you get a product line of lights. Now, I have a studio light in this room, and I mean, studio lights all share very similar characteristics. They have one or two bulbs. They are intended to be movable up and down to different heights. They can take some sort of covering over the front of them. They're recognizably, well, this is a studio light. However, in product lines, the use of them is adapted through selecting and modifying features in the things. Well, we're surrounded by product lines. One example there is, I picked on a car, and I think it's a variety of Toyota, the Toyota Corolla. Now, the engine, the transmission, the brakes, the suspension, the entertainment, the air conditioning, they're all there, but they may well be slightly different across the different vehicles in the product line. You can have a manual transmission, an automatic transmission. You can have a smaller engine, a larger engine. You can have air conditioning or not. Different entertainment systems in these things, but it's still recognizably a Toyota Corolla in some form or other. Now, the connection between these components is likely to be pretty much the same. The chassis is largely the same, because I understand that developing a car chassis is a very expensive exercise, and it's one of those things that once you do it, you've got that chassis, and it will serve a range of models on that size and in that sort of segment for quite a long time. Now, the body shell may well change with the different model. You see there we have a hatchback, we have a RV, a recreational vehicle, we have another recreational vehicle without a top, we have some sort of a sporty thing, and we have a sedan. Now, they're all Toyota Corolla chassis, largely a similar kind of arrangement with suspension and gears and things like that. Similarly, cameras tend to have product lines as well. Now, I'll pick on a Canon. I happen to use Canons a lot myself. Now, the common functions, they all have to focus, they all have to zoom, they all have to take a photo, they all have to store the image, they all have to process the image in some fashion. There's also power management, and increasingly there's a number of other functions that are coming in, like Wi-Fi connections and things like that. However, there will be common components. In a camera, there will be common physical components. The sensor tends to be a common component among different varieties of cameras. In fact, the same sensor can be shared across video cameras, point-and-shoot cameras, and digital SLRs. Similarly, although not a physical component, the image processor is, you get a line of image processor, and it will be included on different cameras. Now, beyond that, we have different demands for different conditions. You might want extremely high resolution for professional photographers, and they want absolute control over everything, so you have to have a lot of manual settings. We have the travel camera market, where you need good enough resolution, good enough detail, but it's got to be convenient, easy to use, easy to carry, and things like that. So Cameras do tend to form product lines as well. Now, in software product lines, we can have the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning systems. We can have customer relationship management systems. They tend to be a kind of a product line. They're aimed at this same problem that all organizations will have, and it's same enough over enough organizations that it can be tailored to any particular organization simply by changing a few things. Defect tracking systems will be familiar to all you programmers. These tend to be a product line in that no two organizations will actually implement it the same way. They change some parameters about it or the information they record, and each of them is slightly different. But they all share the same essential characteristics of tracking defects. Now, most packaged software would qualify in some way as a product line. So the summary for what is a product line: similar software system created from a shared set of software assets using common means to deliver functions and features. All right, it's borrowed from manufacturing, where the same assembly line is used to assemble similar products or using similar components.